All right, sorry about that. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. So, Piter Genius Advisor, kind of a cool card. For some reason, a lot of the cards in the Tleilaxu row tend to have like a single dagger tacked onto them. If I had to guess why this is, I think it's because again of this seemingly design directive that the cards can't have two persuasion. So you have to try to find some other ways to make the reveal good. So you end up putting daggers on them. But yeah, this card's good. I mean, again, the research pays you back in scarabs and specimens, and the card draw allows you to actually access specimens flows and make combos happen more frequently in your deck. If the troop cost is a concern sometimes, but you can lose a troop from wherever you'd like, so it really ends up not being that big of a deal. You can get locked out of combats with this card, though. It does happen sometimes. I still think it's a great card, though. Okay, next up is the card that we've talked about in probably every other card that we've discussed, implicitly or explicitly, and that is recycling forces. I think is what it's called. Let's double check the assets here. Reclaimed forces. That's what it is. It's reclaimed forces, right? I don't think they have it listed here, but it's reclaimed forces. Anyway, so card is not so much a card as it is an operation. It doesn't go in your deck. It's just a thing you can do with this resource. The problem is that this card is actually better than most of the. It's like A or B tier. It's better than most of the cards themselves. A lot of the time, you just don't. The reason that you don't want Guild Impersonator or From the Tanks is because those cards are inferior to just getting a Scarab from Reclaimed Forces, and that's kind of sad, in my opinion. It's kind of the sad thing about this expansion. Um, the the best strategy a lot of the time is just to race things out with Scarab points, and I wish it weren't true, but a lot of time it is. The reason that this is the case is that their Scarab track has intrigue cards along the way, so it creates this snowball, especially with the illicit dealings intrigue card, where starting your way on this scarab track often just snowballs you to a victory. And I find that if somebody finishes the scarab track, there's a very high correlation to that person winning. So for me, I'm gonna have to put reclaim forces either at the top of B tier, um, or at the back of A tier. One of the two of those, just to kind of give you an idea. The problem ultimately is the null hypothesis for all of these cards is just too strong. Next is Scientific Breakthrough, and I actually had a video recently where I said that I thought the Scientific Breakthrough was the best Tleilaxu card. And when I said that, I didn't mean that it was the most cost-efficient Tleilaxu card. I think Contaminator has that. If we're talking about how much value are you getting per specimen spent, well, Contaminator's going to have you beat. But this card is so good. Like, because Scientific Breakthrough is so good. It's like what Ixian Engineer was supposed to be. Ixian Engineer, you play it, you play it, you play it, and then you reveal it, and it has no persuasion, and then maybe you get a point. This card, you play it, you play it, you play it, you keep playing it. It gives you value the whole way. It doesn't cost anything, and then you play it again the last time. It does, by the way, have a reveal effect, and it gives you a point, and it enables its own point because if you're one away from the end of the research track, you get the research before you have to trigger the point effect. This card goes to any non-faction. That's pretty good access actually, and it can draw you cards too. If you're already at the end of the research track, you can draw a card before you trash it for a point. I don't think I've ever bought this card and not gotten a victory point out of it. It's very easy to do. This card enables that victory point very easily. And I've actually gotten 2 points out of it before, as I discussed in the Gola episode. And I think the relevant thing about Scientific Breakthrough that makes it better than a card like Beguiling Pheromones. Sure, they both cost 3 specimens, and sure, they both have the potential to give you points. But the point that Beguiling Pheromones gives you is a point that you could have earned anyway, and you might end up earning anyway. There's a limit on how many points you can get from faction tracks. There's the point that you get from a big scientific breakthrough is pure guacamole in your burrito. It's just extra. It's just a nice thing that can put you over the edge, and it doesn't detract from anything else. And the extra research bumps that you get from the scientific breakthrough on the way to that point, sometimes also give you extra scarab points too. So it can often be worth more than 1 point. Um, it's just a really strong card. Again, I think it's stronger than Contaminator. You compare it to Contaminator. Contaminator gets you a point, but Contaminator gets you a point. You have to pick it up relatively early. If you pick up Scientific Breakthrough in round 6, you still get the point. And a lot of times, the point that you're getting from Contaminator is a point that maybe you would have gotten anyway, right? Maybe you could have maxed out the Scarab track anyway. With Scientific Breakthrough, you can max out the Scarab track and still get the point, which I think is the thing that makes it really strong. I love this card. I think it's my favorite card in the Tleilaxu deck. It's just super fun to use. I guess Stitch Horror is probably one I enjoy more. I don't know. It just depends on the situation. And Gola and Industrial Espionage have a soft place in my heart. And there's two others that also are competing for the title. But I think Scientific Breakthrough is just so consistently good. I mean, it's made thumbnail in my videos so many times. I almost feel weird putting it in the thumbnail at this point because clearly other players don't value this as highly as I do. Because I've noticed, in Imperium rows where there's Stitch Horror and Scientific Breakthrough, people tend to go for the Stitch Horror first. So I don't know if I should even be putting this out there and changing people's opinions. But yeah, I'm not going to change anyone's opinion. I'm just a guy. I'm not like a world champion or anything. I'm just a dude who makes videos. So, maybe you don't like Scientific Breakthrough as much as you like Stitch Horror, and you should keep that opinion as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Next up is Slig Farmer. Slig Farmer is another one of those Allays that Kaz cards. It's a card that goes very, very well with Fold Space. It goes very well with Thufir Hawat, with Occupation. This card is probably the one that I have the least... I'm the most unsure about Slig Farmer. Slig Farmer, to me, is a C-tier card. It does have the potential to get you extra points, but it's I think it's comparable to Guild Impersonator. It's relatively comparable. It's a card that grafts. It only goes to one type of space. It's asking you to graft it to another relatively specific type of card, in order to potentially get more points from a source of points that is limited. So you can only get 2 points from Guild Alliance. You can only get 2 points from Slig Farmer. Slig Farmer can be good if you're racing out Scarabs, and if you're getting intrigues out of it and you're snowballing intrigues, I think that's good. If you're not playing with Fold Spaces, or you didn't pick up a Thufir, I'm not super comfortable with it. Now, that being said, you can just use this as a way to convert Solari into Scarabs, right? Like, if you graft this to your Signet Ring, you get three Solari. You're basically saying, I'm gonna convert 2 Solari on the margin and lose some persuasion. Convert 2 Solari into a Scarab, and that's a good deal. So you don't have to have those high access icon cards, but I'm just not in love. I'm not in love with grafting to cards that don't replace themselves, because you end up really burning through your hand. Again, if you're not playing Ariana, you're not playing Alayza, you're not playing Ilban, I think this starts to struggle for you. I think for Yuna, this can be a valid card. You have a lot of money. This is a way that you can turn that money into advantage. But isn't that already what your Signet Ring is doing? So, I don't know. Maybe it's more of a Leto card, because Leto wants to go to green. I also find that, graft to green is, one of the least useful... It's one of the least useful places to graft to. You want to graft to combat spaces a lot of the time, because it allows you to use cards like Sadakar Legion, or Ixguild Compact, cards that give you troop value, right? And green doesn't really do that. I don't know. I'm just not in love with the card. It can be good sometimes. I don't see that many situations where, if you're not a Leza or Leto, that you want the card that much. Next up, and again, it's like I've said in the past, it costs 2 specimens. So, you kind of, the first time you play it, you're kind of just breaking even, right? Because you probably gave up a Scarab by buying the card in the first place. So you have to play it, twice to get ahead on scarabs. And I don't know. I don't know about that. Stitch Horror is next. Stitch Horror is either an S or an A tier card. I have seen this card really perform and really do super well. I think it's super fun. It's the choices that it gives you are awesome, and the trashing that it gives you is awesome. However, I don't think it is as good as the other cards. I will say that the card is. It's funny. It's not immediately clear to me that the card is better than Contaminator. I think Contaminator is better from a cost efficiency standpoint, which is the reason I'm going to have it in S and not A. But at the same time, you can't play Stitch Horror without grafting it. So it's going to eat through your hand. That's the first problem. Second problem is it doesn't go to faction. Sure, it gives you scarabs. That's cool. But, you spent a scarab to get it. So you're not ahead on scarabs with Stitch Horror, again, until you've played it twice, which is fine. It's a good card. I do love this card. I think it's super cool and super fun, and I'm being relatively negative for a card that I'm putting at the top of A tier. It's on the border between A and S. It's a good card. It is a really good card, and I'm always happy to have it. But it does burn you through your hand. The trash, the water, the scarab, they're all awesome. I don't like getting a troop from this card. If I can at all avoid it, I will not get the troop. Grafting a city is pretty useful. It could be better, but it's fine. That's kind of how I feel about the card. It's fun, but not amazing. Not as amazing as it looks. Now, I have seen games where this card went off, and the person that bought it ended up getting like a 9-card deck, and they were trying Stitch Horror every round, and they were maxing out the Scarab track, and they were making a bunch of troops, and they were always able to go to Research Station. And that's awesome, and I think it's great. But I've almost always seen Scientific Breakthrough perform. I've almost always seen Contaminator perform. I can't say the same for Stitch Horror, which I do feel like has let me down a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. I think buying Stitch Horror is better than buying, Reclaimed Forces, so long as you could plausibly draw it and it wouldn't cost you a Spice Must Flow. If you don't think you're going to draw it before the game is over, you should buy the Reclaimed Forces, which is again one of the problems with this whole system. But given that fact, it's a cool card. Next is Subject X. It's technically Subject X137. That I don't know what the numerals signify. I'm just going to call it Subject X. The card is interesting because it gives you a cheaper rate on Scarabs than the Reclaimed Forces does, but you only do it once. It gives you repeated Scarabs on play once you have the first DNA marker, but the access it has is not that great. This card's very strong. This card is A or S tier. I think on the margin it's probably worth 1 point for having this card. So I'm going to say this card is probably, it's basically the same thing as Contaminator. It's a little bit more expensive. The difference is it doesn't go to faction. Taking this to Mentat can feel really, really good, but if you don't get Mentat, this card ends up feeling pretty depressing sometimes. I think I want to put it in I'm going to put it in S, and I might move it down later. The card is... yeah, I think I'm going to put it in S, and maybe I'll move it down later. Yeah. No, I'm going to put it in A. The card is good. It's very good. It's a little boring, actually, but when you see a Baron or you see a Tessia get this card, you kind of groan because you're like, oh no, they're going to close the game out really quickly, aren't they? And that's kind of what this card does. It's a good agent box, and it's nice to have around. That being said, you don't want to buy it super, super early. I usually would not buy this card round 1 unless I had some inclination that it was going to basically assist me with getting the first Scarab Point Spice or get an intrigue card sooner, because drawing this card when you don't have the first DNA marker can be pretty sad. It's a pretty sad card if you don't have the first DNA marker. So, just be careful about that. But other than that, it's a fantastic card. The last 2-coster that we have today is Tleilaxu Infiltrator, and this card is really, really good. It is really, really good. Originally, I had this in A tier, but I actually think it belongs in S. It just does a lot of different things that are important. So at a baseline, if the card just said two specimens, cost, graft, no access, draw a card, infiltrate the space you go to, one persuasion, that would probably be an A tier card. That would be an A tier card, even if it didn't go to city, just because infiltrating in this game is really powerful. It makes you so much more flexible, enables all these crazy plays. Obviously, the shipping example is very clear, but you can do this on many other important spaces like Highliner, Swordmaster. This card sneaking you into Swordmaster is actually extremely clutch. High Council in some occasions, Research Station. This card just can do a lot of good for you, just on the infiltrate alone. And then what else I think puts it over the top is that it replaces itself. That is really essential. You never really feel bad about ever having this card because you just graft it to whatever you're going to play anyway, and it replaces itself. And then kind of the cherry on top, if you can get this with like a been a Tleilaxu researcher or a scientific breakthrough, or if you just have really good yellow cycling, this card will feed you intrigue cards, which gets really crazy really fast. If you get like a CTM off of this or something, it's bananas. It's an amazing card. It's a little bit underrated, I think, and very strong. I will say that it does not always perform if you do not have 2 on guild and you don't have a lot of research. The card's not going to feel that great to you. It kind of behaves like a Chome Delegate in that way, where it can magnify a really powerful start and make a really powerful game even stronger and crazier. But for games where you just don't have that shipping access, you can sometimes find this card to be underwhelming because the shipping access is manifold. It's twofold, really. First, infiltrating interstellar shipping is innately important just because the space is so powerful. But second, a lot of your research progress comes from playing experimentations to interstellar shipping or smuggling, but interstellar shipping. And I tend to find that players that have interstellar shipping research faster and research more and are more likely to get to the end of the track because they have a consistently good space they can play that yellow to. The spice spaces are not that good. Like they're just not very good spaces. The reason you go to them is because you want to research. So it kind of has a built-in synergy there. And so it really helps with that. And there was something else too about that as well. Oh yeah, like interstellar shipping means you're more likely to have your Swordmaster a lot of the time, and Swordmaster also helps you research faster because you get to play more agent icons, you get to play your experimentations more often. So it's a bit of a win more card, but it's a very strong card. I do think if you're behind sometimes, you're better off going for other cards. Like I think if you're losing the game, you're probably better off getting like a Stitch Horror or getting a Scientific Breakthrough. But the fact that this card costs 2 doesn't feel quite right. I feel like this card actually deserves to cost 3. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just the appropriate power level of a 2 cost card, and cards like Guild, Impersonator, and Slig Farmer just need to catch up. I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think about that one. Now we're going to go to Twisted Mentat. Get it twisted. So Twisted Mentat's a fun card. I think the cat's out of the bag that the four cost cards are usually not worth it, and they usually don't pay themselves back. But I have had games and seen games where Twisted Mentat was worth it. The first thing to say about that is that if the space you go to is Mentat, then you're not helping your opponents by recalling the agent. It's kind of like a Swordmaster, but it's a lot worse than an extra Swordmaster. It's a lot worse than a Kwisatz. Because recalling the agent can sometimes be a disadvantage. You sometimes don't want other players to get to that space. And it runs you through your cards pretty quick. The biggest cost of Twisted Mentat, and the biggest way that I would probably fix it, if it needs a fix, is that it doesn't draw you any cards. So it's very, very easy with Twisted Mentat. You're giving yourself an extra agent action but you're not giving yourself any extra cards, and you're also spending more cards. So unless you have very good card flow, this card can be really not very good for you. You basically have to be Ariana or Helena or Leto or a leader that really draws more than the average, or Paul. You have to be a leader that draws more than the average amount of cards to make good use of this thing. And it's fun. It's cool when you get it to go off. And if I see it in the starting row, unless I'm playing in a tournament game, it is going to get bought because people love using this thing. The one thing I will also say in favor of this card, and also use Slurp, which we're going to get to soon, is the 4-cost cards. They recognize that these were expensive and that these were costing you scarabs to get them. So they compensated by giving them specimens on reveal, just like your experimentations. And that's kind of cool. I respect that because it means that if you end up not playing the card, which isn't going to happen very often for Twisted Mentat, then you can, after a certain amount of time, you can re-establish your initial investment. Twisted Mentat, to me, is kind of a beguiling tier card. It's kind of a middle-of-the-road card. It's situational at the end of the day, but the situations aren't that situational, and the upside is usually there. I would put it like, it's kind of like in the middle here, but you can usually find a way to make it work. As long as you're Helena and you can infiltrate research station, you're fine. Or as long as you're Ariana's actually really good with this card because of her easy access to research station, and the fact that she draws cards off of spice spaces. So Ariana's really good with this card. Paul's good with the card. Helena's good with the card. I think if you're playing Baron, if you're playing Yuna, you probably don't have any business buying this. It's just not. It's not going to be that good for you. It's cool though. I mean, go back and watch my Get It Twisted Leto video. This is a super fun card when you can get it to really go off and sing for you. The other thing I'll say about against this card, which again is the upside is consistently very good. Having an extra agent is always going to be valuable. The other thing I'll say against this card is that going to Green and Landstrad and City, just not that great. It's not. I mean, you can take this to Mentat or you can take this to Arakian, and it kind of helps a little bit, but you really want the card that you graph it to be valuable. So that's my take on the matter. Next, we have the last of our 3-cost cards, Unnatural Reflexes. This card may look familiar to you. It might look a little bit like a Smuggler's Thopter, for example. Let me go ahead and pull those cards up. So, here we're going to have Unnatural Reflexes. He is Zoomin. And then you can also look at Smuggler's Thopter. Right? Draw 2 if you fulfill a condition. Goes to yellow only. Reveals for 1 persuasion and a little something extra. Basically, very similar cards. I think the Thopter is a little bit better. In this game, you're usually going to get to 2 on guild sooner or later, and the reveal is better for that card. Although Graft is innately cool, it's innately useful, and you're going to be happy sometimes that you have the ability to take some cards to yellow that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So I do like this card. I like it for Aleza. I do not think this is a card that you want to rush. This is not one of those cards where you go Still Suits Research Station to try to get this, because the card isn't useful until you've got that first DNA marker. And then once you have the DNA marker, it's about the same effect size as the Smuggler's Thopter. Smuggler's Thopter is a +1. Unnatural Reflexes is kind of a +0 because you played 2 cards to get 2 cards. Like, the size of your hand does not increase for getting Spice Slows, but it allows you to compress your actions, and it allows you to take that Smuggler's Thopter that you wanted to play, and also at the same time play that Gurney Halleck that you really wanted to play. So the value of the Unnatural Reflexes is it allows you to get more agent actions in and more visits to faction. You can't take Smuggler's Thopter to faction. I think that this card is a little bit better than it looks. It's a cool card. And you do sometimes end up... you could argue that it's a +1 because, like, if you didn't play okay, imagine you're playing Smuggler's Thopter, you're still playing a card, right? Like, I don't know. Anyway, this card to me is like, it sits in like A tier. It's like an okay, decent card. Maybe it's a B tier card. It's probably top of B. The card is good. It's fine, but it is like sitting on the edge of like, well, it might not be better than the null hypothesis of just going with reclaimed forces. Um, like I think early enough this is better than reclaimed forces because if you draw two cards often enough, you're going to draw enough experimentations to get those specimens back. But it's not always. Even with this card, it can be hard to get Spicemas flows. But the first DNA marker is not that hard to get to. I don't know. Your mileage may vary. It's a fun card. Don't rush it, but it's good to have around. Okay. So now we've got our last card, the famous Slurp. You Slurp. This is our 4-cost card. It grafts to a card in the Imperium row. It has no access, so you only get the access of the card you're grafting to. And it trashes the card, and you do not acquire it. In one of my videos, a commenter asked, why, when you slurped the full-scale assault, did you not get a Dreadnought? And the answer is because I didn't acquire the full-scale assault. So that's the reason why I didn't get the Dreadnought. The card is interesting, though, because it gives you trash effects, so it's a very good with unload effects. If you slurp a in the shadows, you get the Bene Gesserit bump at the end of the action, and you get the Agent box. If you slurp an Esmar 2-Ek, you get the card draw, you get the faction bump, and then you get the 2 spice, and then you get the 2 Solari afterwards. It's really good with unload stuff. It doesn't work with Assassination Mission, though. Assassination Mission has a win trash effect, but Assassination Mission doesn't have any access, and neither does you Slurp. So you can't really get it to work the way you want to. This is probably the most fun card in the Imperium, in the Immortality deck. It's super cool. I mean, if you can get treacheries and power plays and Kwisatz to come out, it's awesome. I have 2 recent videos on my channel that went up where I got you Slurp. One of them was a narrow loss, and one of them was a pretty cool win. Narrow win, but still a pretty cool win. Narrow both games. I don't think that this card... I think the way I would describe it is like, this card is similar to Shai Hulud in that it's more fun than it is good. It's a decentish card, and it's a lot of fun. So, to me, the other thing is, like, too, when you buy this... That's not where I wanted to put this. Let me fix this. This is, like, right here, probably. Put it here. Probably, it's below Stitch Horror. It's like right here. It's usually worse than Reclaimed Forces, if we're honest. Maybe I put it at the top of Beguiling. It's a cool card. It does give you your specimens back on reveal, but when you buy this, it's the other hard thing about it with the atomics tokens in the game too is like, let's say that you see a guild accord, right? Guild Accord is one of the best unload cards in the game. A water and 3 spice with a good agent box too. And this card's great with Guild Accord. And maybe you've got the Alliance. You can't necessarily draft this card because you want to use it with Guild Accord, because the atomics tokens, you have no idea what's going to be in the row the next time that you draw this. You can put it on top of your deck potentially, but I don't know. I mean, and the cards get purchased too. The problem is there's so much churn in the row these days that you really can't rely on, oh, there's a treachery, so because there's a treachery, then I'm going to go ahead and pick up that you Slurp. It doesn't always work that way. Although I will say that this does allow you to weaponize your own atomics tokens into a pretty useful advantage. If you don't see a good target for slurping, you can blow the row up until you find one. And you have there's like 3 power plays in the deck, and there's like 2 treacheries, so you're often gonna get something that you like, and it's a really amazing rush when you slurp to graft to a Kwisatz. Like that is super fun. It's super awesome. I will say that this card doesn't allow you to take any card to a place that it couldn't have gone otherwise. It's kind of weird as a graft card because it doesn't expand your access. Like if you slurp to a Sedekar Legion, you still have a Sedekar Legion. Like you didn't really change the possibility space. But the idea of playing cards directly off the row is really cool, and I do love this card. I think it's my favorite card in this deck. But in terms of its actual power, I hate to say it, but it is more fun than it is good. So it's going to sit in the beguiling tier. So that's all of them. I really enjoy this deck. I enjoy this mechanic. I think it's super fun. It the only place that this section of the game really falls flat is, again, the meta, where the cards aren't as good as you want them to be. If the no atomics token, I praised it earlier, and it is a good thing. But if the opening row is like Slig Farmer from the tanks, well, you might not see anybody get any Tleilaxu row cards all game. I mean, I'm serious. I've played games where the entire Tleilaxu row just got ignored all game because, well, you're going to wait for somebody to fall in the bullet and bite the bullet and buy the bad cards, and maybe nobody ever does that. And the fallback fail case of like, well, I'm just gonna buy scarabs, and then after that I'll buy troops. That's good enough. People don't have to buy the cards. And to me, the deck building is the best part about Immortality. So that's the only disappointment I would say really about all of it. I don't think I have any followers that are part of the Direwolf team. Like, I'm pretty confident that like Paul and Scarlatch and those guys don't follow me. So, no, I'll have no effect on anything with what I'm saying here. But I really do hope that some later point in time they do expand this deck, because it's a really cool set of cards, and there's only two spots in that row, and you do get tired of seeing some of the same stuff. And we need more graft in the game, just in general. So if any of you guys are watching or listening, which you probably aren't, I do believe there is a market. Maybe not a huge one, but I do believe there is a market for more of this. So hope you guys enjoyed, and after I'm done with this now, I'm gonna go watch Diz's video and see how his rankings were different from mine. I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you later.